Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough of Chord Generator by Mario Nieto. I'm looking at the iPad version. It's the same as the desktop version, except I think desktop has some stuff like drag and drop, MIDI into your DAW. I don't think the iPad version has this, at least I haven't been able to get it working. But basically they're the same. I'll put links in the pinned comment of this video for you to buy this on the Appstore or buy the desktop version. And if you use the desktop version link I post, you'll get a discount and I'll get a small commission. Great way to help me. So yeah, this is really cool. Generates MIDI chords. It can do really nice stuff with strumming patterns, and it's got this little section called the repeater that I think is really cool. It's very similar to Chordjam by Audio Modern. So Mario, the developer of this, was also one of the developers of Chordjam. So as far as I understand, the main difference really is the repeater section. If you are very familiar with both of the apps and you'd like to comment on other things that you find useful that this has, for example, that Chordjam doesn't, or stuff that Chordjam has that this doesn't, feel free to write in the pinned comment of this video so other people can read it. I'm not going to focus on the differences between them. I haven't really used Chordjam in a while. I'm just going to look at what this can do. So I'm going to try and make this video as short as I can. I'm going to try and explain the app just quickly and clearly. So if you appreciate that kind of video, please smash the like. So the main place to start with understanding how things work is down in the pad section. So here we have pad 1, and that is playing an F major 7th. Now here it says C3, and that just means that if I'm sending in a MIDI note from an external keyboard, like, here I've got the AUM, the host app that I'm using here, I've got it, triggering this. Or I can use, a piano roll app like this to trigger it. Right? So that second note that you see here is the MIDI note that will trigger it. And this is what the root note of the chord will be. So basically it just works like this: pad 1, pad 2, pad 3, pad 4. So here, a C will play the first pad, a C sharp will play the second one, and so on, right? Now, sometimes you come to pads that don't have anything on them in the presets. And at first I was like, why is this? But actually it makes sense, right? Because the reason is, if we look here, this pad and the one above it, it's actually the same chord, but they've maybe turned on the repeater and done something different with the strumming. So, that's why it's been organized like this. So it's intelligent from that angle, but it can be a little bit confusing when you're, playing, and you kind of have to pay attention to the fact that there might be some blanks when you're playing in from an external keyboard. Anyway, it is done for that reason. There are pros and cons, I suppose, to both ways. So another thing to be careful of when you're first looking at the app is that when you change a pad, here the UI will change unless you've toggled something off over here. We'll talk about those later. So basically here, all of this upper part of the UI here, all of that is showing things related to this pad. And here, we're seeing now stuff related to that pad. There can be another thing that can confuse you when you start using the app. When you go through some of the presets, some of them have this on, but you might not really notice that. And what you might notice if you're paying attention to the top of the UI is, why can't I change the root note here for this pad? And that's because when we turn this on, this is called single note mode. And single note mode just means here, if I select this pad, this is a major 7th, Now it's going to determine the root note based on the input from my external keyboard. So this is going to be a C major 7th, and this is a C sharp major 7th. This is a D major 7th, and so on. If I change to take this pad here, dominant 7th, you know, now we've got a C dominant 7th, and so on and so on. Okay, so yeah, if you get confused about why you can't change the root note, it's going to be because this is turned on. So now back to this main type of view. So here we're seeing the information for pad 1. So here it just shows us that the root is this F3, and here we can see what external MIDI note will trigger it, in this case a C3, and if we want we can change that. I thought that would pull up a drop-down menu. No, I just got to use the arrows, or you can double tap and you can enter a note. Now, glad that it has undo buttons, undo and redo buttons up here. That's pretty handy. But just to make sure it's back to the way things were, I'm just going to reselect it from here. So pad 1, sorry, that's pad 7. Let's change to pad 1. So if I click over here, when we turn this off, if I click on a pad, it won't actually play it, but it will just change what we see. And if I, let's turn this one on and let's turn this off. So if this one is turned off, here I can still play, different MIDI notes, but the UI is not going to change. So, it's just showing us pad 1's information here. If I play this, well, we can see that it's triggering pad 2, but it's still just showing us the inversions, velocity, strum, repeater, and so on for pad 1. So that's what these two buttons do. If we click this little magic wand, that will just put a bunch of chords in here. Now, it will respect whatever you've got selected down here. So this is where you can pick your scale. Strangely, actually, it does not seem to have any kind of custom scale ability, does it? Don't think so. That's a pity. And here, your root note. Now, there are little, in various places in the UI, you'll see these little things here. So you can toggle these, and that just is used for the randomizer, or this like little mutator thing. So let's just look at the way this mutator thing works. So if I turn this on, it's basically just going to change the root and the scale every time I play a note. And so that can be, that can be useful actually to experiment with initially, to just come up with something that you like, and then, for example, you could turn this off. You can limit the options here, so if you toggle a bunch of these off, then it'll not play those. Let's say you don't want a G sharp or whatever, then just turn this off. Okay, that's that. Let me just set this back the way it was. So you also have a little button here, MIDI capture. So if you turn that on, then the MIDI that this app outputs will be basically recorded inside the app, and then you can use this button to save the file. Well, I didn't capture any yet. So you got to press play on your host. Oops, hang on. So I didn't turn on this MIDI capture, so let's turn it on, okay. So now it says capturing MIDI. Okay, and so now I've captured that, and I can send it out and save it, and then I can load that MIDI file inside an app that allows me to import MIDI files. Okay. So that's handy, yeah. Whoops. Okay, turn MIDI capture off. All right. Now you can drag pads, you select a pad and you press this trash can to delete it. And again, you've got undo if you want to undo that. So then looking up here, here we just see number 10. It just means pad 10 selected, but there's nothing in there anyway. So let's just choose a different pad. So pad 7, so let's look at this. So we can have up to 6 voices. So basically up to 5 main voices for the chord, and then you can have a bass note where it's just the first voice down an octave. And so if it's blacked out here, it just means that this chord type, major 7th, it only has 4 notes in it. So that's why there's no option for 5th here. But if you change this to another chord type that has 5 voices, then you'll get that one lit up. Here you have these little locks. So for example, if I lock this, then now this whole row will stay at the values set here. It will not be changed by things like a randomizer. Then we have these different sections. So inversion, and this is again very similar to Chordjam, inversion, velocity, and strum, and repeater. So this is something Chordjam doesn't have. So we can randomize the inversion values. We can have a little mutate thing where every time we trigger the pad, it will just be a little bit different. Or we can press this lock button, and the lock button will just, if I press 0, they'll all be 0. If I press this on this pad, they'll all jump to that value. So that's just what that does. Or you can reset everything, and you can just lock this entire inversion section. So yeah. Then you have velocity over here, and so similar principle, but note that we have a range slider here. So I can drag that, although I find it very fiddly. It's a bit tricky sometimes. I don't think it lets you adjust it. No, it does let you adjust the start, but yeah, just kind of weird. I think that needs a little bit of optimization, at least on the iPad. So if I put that here, for example, then now when I use the randomizer, all the values will be within this range. So that's super useful. For example, here, we know that we're only going to get low velocity output. Now again, remember that's going to be specific to each pad, okay? So you're going to have to set this up differently for different pads. And then here, again, similar things to what we saw over here, so I won't repeat all that. And then if we go to Strum, so I'm just changing back to the basic original version of the preset. So in the Strum section here, this is really nice. So let's first just turn this off. And if I press random, so look at the way this is randomizing things. It's just completely random, right? Now again, we could set a range here, okay? But note the difference when I turn this on. Whoops. So here what's happening is it is randomizing, but it's doing strum patterns. So that just means that we'll be going from small value to large value, or from large values to small values. So, oops. So yeah, having that on will make a very big difference to the output here. I keep getting that thing triggering. I don't really want that. Don't know why. I think it must think it's double tap or something. Maybe triggers that. Yeah. Now, if I turn that off, then I can just use the strum thing here. So if I turn it all the way to the left, here we're basically getting a slow strum. Now let me turn the repeater section off. And if I put it like this, then we're going to get a faster strum. And so note here that basically it's going to play the fourth voice first, and then the third voice, and then the second, and so on. But if I change this so it's like this, then now it's going to play the first voice, then the second, the third, and the fourth. Right? Now, if we have this on, we'll have quantized values there, right? 32nd, 16th, and so on, triplets, dotted values, and all that stuff. If we turn this off, it can be totally free. And so, this one can be just really nice. For example, we could set a bit of a range and turn on this little mutate slider. And we can, let's put that on so that it will use the strum type rather than more like a picked type thing. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Okay, right, so I've pressed this little thing. Let's change the range. So you see, there's a bit of a problem, I think, with the range slider in this strum section, because I've set the range here, but like you can see, for example, this is coming outside that range, right? So I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working. That's just a little bug, I'm sure, that'll be fixed. So that's your strum section there. Now let's just turn off strum for a second. And let's look at the repeater section. So I'm just gonna randomize that. And so if you see here, now these notes are being repeated. Now we can go in and, we can, again, like toggle on and off possible values and all that sort of stuff. We can just select a value that we want directly and so on. Now, there's supposed to be, according to the manual, something here that you can do to limit the range of this repeater section as well, unless I misunderstood, but I can't see any way to do that here in the iPad version. I don't know. It's don't know if it's user error or if it just wasn't explained clearly in the manual, or I think it just seems like it just hasn't been implemented. I think it's an oversight, but I could be wrong. So if I turn these off, then now we're getting free values. And so I don't know about you, but personally I really love that kind of thing. And that could be nice if, for example, we put on the single note mode. And again, you can change all of these, let's just give them long values, or we can type in values. And you know, you could have some of these synced and some free. I love this, love it. So I think I've covered pretty much all of the features of the app. So let me just play around with a couple of these. So you see here, you know, this pad is set up to mutate. Beautiful. So this is on the single note mode. So lovely. If you like this kind of thing, I think is well worth the $10. I don't know if it's an intro price, and again, that's the iPad price, but even the desktop plugin price is very reasonable. Also, the iPad version will work on Macs, some Macs anyway. You'll find the details in the App Store. It's just that, you know, it might not be as convenient or whatever to use it. You wouldn't be able to load it directly inside Ableton as a MIDI plugin or whatever. So if you wanted to do that, you'd have to get the desktop version. Anyway, really enjoying the output of this. I think it's got a lot of beautiful presets, and it's definitely been a popular release so far. Okay, everyone, I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.